over the last year, almost as soon as I won my reelection, folks started coming and talking to me about the state Senate seat. Folks started coming to me, asking me to run. And at first it was neighbors, and I take that really seriously. Neighbors that felt that I could do more if I were in the state Senate, where I was one of 40 votes instead of one of 125. But I also got a lot of the political class, a lot of the leaders in the legislature, a lot of consultants who were telling me, hey, you got to run for this seat. The Democrat, Jeff Pittman, he's vulnerable. You need to run for this seat. It'll be good for you. You only have to run every 4 years, and it'll be a stepping stone for the future. Well, I don't care about any of that. That's not why I'm doing this. That's not why I'm doing this. And as I reflected on that question, and I didn't take the legislators and the pundits or the consultants that seriously, but I did take it seriously when neighbors came to me and said they were tired of a guy walking around telling people he believed one thing and then going to Topeka and vote another way. I took that very seriously, and so I took it to prayer. And I've been praying on it really, really hard. I've been thinking about it really, really hard. And the question that came to me is, why am I doing what I'm doing? I get asked that question a lot, as you can imagine. Everybody who looks on Facebook and sees, all the stuff they say about me. I'm knocking doors for these local candidates, and at least three people, when I went to the door, were like, man, what did you do to that Jeff Howard's guy? He's always writing in the paper. Like, I didn't do anything to him, I promise. But people ask, why do you put up with it? We had a couple people come in tonight, try to do shenanigans. We've had people paint our restaurant. We've had people, go to work with chalk on my sidewalk. I had no kidding, the Kansas City Temple of Satan during Value Them Both. During that vote, were out across the street protesting my restaurant, and I asked myself, and sometimes my wife asks me, why are you doing this? And so I really thought about that question, and I thought about it hard as I was considering what my neighbors were telling me, were asking me to do. First of all, me and my wife, we love this town so much. We really do. We came here in 2006. We started our first little tiny restaurant, 19-seat, and this town threw their arms around us. And when I was still in the Army, I deployed 4 times. I went twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, once to Jordan. I was gone 5 years as a geographical bachelor, coming back on long weekends, coming back on leave. COVID hit, and we thought we were done. All the restaurants were closed, and people that I get choked up. People that we did not even know, who had never set foot in this restaurant, came and ordered takeout just to keep us alive. All those things that the city has done for us, yeah, absolutely. All those things that the city has done for us, they're debts that I can't repay. They're things that I could work the rest of my life. I promise I'm not going to be in office the rest of my life. But I could work the rest of my life, and it would not be enough to pay back the city for what they've done for us and for our family. It really wouldn't. If I look at you, I'm going to start crying, so I'm not going to. But I get accused a lot. I get accused a lot on Facebook of doing this for myself. I'm just in this for myself. And first of all, if I were doing this for myself, it's because I'm a sadomasochist. I mean, my wife reminds me every week when I leave for Topeka as I'm going out the door, you're costing us a fortune, right? So, but I really reflected on that question because, I've got neighbors asking me to run for a higher office. It's a longer term, and so I reflected on that. And you know what? I have to admit that in one tiny way, I am actually doing this for us, for myself. And that's in that I want my kids to come back. My son, he lives over in Lawrence. My daughter, she married a soldier. They live in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. They've got our grandkids. We've got a granddaughter who's 9 now, and a grandson. I had to verify. I don't want to get it wrong on video. So my grandson's 18 months. And we don't get to see them much because we're busy and they're on the other side of the country. I want them back here. And as I go around and I knock on doors, I talk to people, oh, we've got to go here to go visit the grandkids. We got to go here to go visit the grandkids. And I hear people say, I wish my kids would come back, because our grandkids are so far away. And I feel it. I mean, it's like ripping out my heart every time they get in a car and they drive away. That's not going to happen if we don't have the jobs and the opportunity for our kids to come back here for, because they're not retired. And I don't want them to wait till they're retired to come back because my grandkids will be grown up and they'll be gone. I want them to come back as soon as my son-in-law separates from the military. I want them to come back now. Come get stationed at Fort Leavenworth or something and then, chain yourself to a desk. I want them to come back now. But we have to have the jobs and the opportunity for them to grow their lives because they're young. And so we've still got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got to, continue to incentivize more investment. We've started with the Historic Kansas Act. We just got that eyesore Club Venom finally with a business in it that's thriving. They use the Historic Kansas Act for their tax credits. We got to do that about 500 more times. But we've also got to bring in other incentives because we've got to do it at scale. On your way home, drive down the downtown and look at all the empty storefronts that we still have. And when the businesses come back and their amenities, that'll be attractive to young people and we can get some more of our kids back. We've got to get our schools fixed because when these big industries, if you're Amazon or you're GM or you're IBM, no matter what you are, you're looking at Leavenworth's just a spreadsheet like all the other spreadsheets. And we've got a big red goose egg because Leavenworth School District is in the bottom 5th of the state. I wouldn't bring a business here if I could locate someplace where the school's in the top 5th of the state, right? Because I've got to attract talent. And so if we want to bring business back here, we've got to get our schools fixed too. We've got to get all those people that are still sitting on the sidelines after COVID back to work. Because, the industry's not going to come if there's not some nascent workforce. And we're we're at a tiny percentage unemployment, but we've got a huge deficit in workforce participation. People that just aren't even looking for a job that don't count as unemployed. We've got to get them back into the economy, growing their lives, but also growing business here and attracting business here and getting all those stores, back to operating in our downtown. And so as I reflected on that, and I reflected on this question, all these people that are asking me to go run for the Senate, I had to admit that what the leadership in the House and what those political consultants were telling me is true. It is better for me if all I care about is my political career and grabbing the next brass ring and setting myself up for the next run. But like I said, that's not why I'm in this. And so I had to reflect on what position is going to put me in the best place to do all those things I told you I was going to do, to serve you, the people of Leavenworth. Right now, I'm in my second term in the House, God willing. I'll be able to continue if I make that decision. And I'm a chair of a committee. When I was running the first time, I told you that the reason we could never get anything done in the House is because we were sending a Democrat, and Democrats can't get in the room with the Speaker, can't get in the room with the Majority Leader. I ain't saying it's right. I ain't saying we should all work together. I'm just telling you I don't live in the world that we want to live in. I live in the world that we do live in. And when you send a Democrat to the House, they can't get in the room. You sent me to Topeka, I could get in the room. And so I was able to get those things done, like disabled veteran tax relief, the Historic Kansas Act, all those things, the Veterans Home for Northeast Kansas that we were able to do for veterans. That's the room. But when you're a committee chair, you get to go into the room behind the room where you're in the knife fight to decide whose bills get done. And I'm in that room now, which is why I was able to do the Disabled Veterans Tax Relief, because I was able to have those discussions with all the committee chairs and the leadership of the House, who, by the way, the House Majority Leader is a retired colonel. The House Speaker is a National Guard artilleryman, separated, and our Speaker Pro Tem just became a lieutenant in the Air National Guard. So they are pro-military. So if I can get in that room, if I can stay in that room, I can continue to get things done for Leavenworth. If I go run for the Senate, I get to start all over. I'm not a committee chair, I'm a freshman. And Leavenworth, it's not about me and what position I have. Leavenworth has to wait 4 years for Pat Proctor to work his way back up through the Senate into a chair so he can get back in the room. And so it might be better for me because I get paid the same whether I'm a chair or not, but it'd be terrible for Leavenworth. And I had to admit that to myself. And it's not hard to tell the legislative leadership, no, I'm not going to do that, because half the legislative leadership's happy I'm staying in the House. But it is hard to tell my neighbors, because a lot of neighbors and a lot of people in this room suggested it to me and asked me. And it's hard to say no to you. But I wanted you to understand why I made the decision today to go to Topeka and file to continue to serve you as your state representative.